My near-death experience at age 4 was not like the typical beautiful Hollywood NDEs that a lot of people talk about. I didn't have the float above the body thing. I didn't have anything too grand. It was very simple, but it had a profound effect on my life, and it felt like the most real experience, and still to this day is a reference point for reality for me. So very simply, as a little 4-year-old, I was having surgery to remove an egg-size tumor that was behind this eye. So I had to have my head cut open from ear to ear. I died twice. I still have the burn marks on the base of my spine for some of the defib where they were trying to get my heart rate to stabilize after having died twice. I still have the scars, and I still have what my little 4-year-old mind called home, because I had the tunnel. I did the classic tunnel of light, except my tunnel was very colorful. Colors I couldn't describe, and when I tried to draw my tunnel of light in the hospital ward afterwards, my cousin and aunt brought me the gift of some wax crayons, and I sat with the clipboard that my mom had given me, and I was trying to draw, and it was so frustrating because I couldn't get the colors that I was remembering. And my simple 4-year-old mind said, there was this knowing, this is home. I went there. It felt like I flew there. I knew this body wasn't a part of the deal, that I didn't go to home with my body. And my body felt strange, fascinating, but strange. And home felt like the most love and the most peace and the most freedom. It was freedom from being teased for having a large tumor. It was freedom from being sensitive enough to feel the pain of family members. I knew I was causing a lot of pain because of this health crisis, this benign fibrous dysplasia tumor that came out of nowhere, and feeling the grief that this had caused my family, the whispers, the going anywhere in public and having people point and stare and ask my mother what was wrong, what's wrong with your child, because it was really truly what I call a monster-making, that's how I felt as a kid, a monster-making tumor. It was big enough to push this eye down, raise my eyebrow. It sat like a big egg, shiny skin with my eyebrow all distorted. And so it was impossible to hide this thing. And now I was experiencing home, and there was just none of that. I could see all 360. There wasn't these little windows. I didn't have to look through little eyes, because my sight was also threatened by this tumor, and I had some double vision from the tumor pressing down on this right eye. And now I was seeing 360 and feeling more love and peace and acceptance, all words that I give to the echo of this, because the young mind just was, this is home. And when I was trying to draw this tunnel of light, and I felt this home with me for some days afterwards. And I remember the one morning, hospitals early morning, they wake you up at insane amounts of, in crazy times, early morning, the sound of bedpans and fluorescent lights flickering on and windows being open. It was still dark outside, and the hospital ward where I was looking over the city, and I got to see the sunrise the one morning, and I was just fascinated by my hands and the little hairs on my arm and the sunlight, and everything just felt like look, it's moving on its own, and the body felt just amazing. So I was left with, I knew I wasn't the body. I had this home as a reference point. So this was a gift. It was an amazing gift because it showed me a reality that I quickly learned not everybody, no one else knew. I didn't share this with anyone, by the way. I didn't announce this. It felt like very personal, and it felt, the desire to talk about it just didn't show up. And then what also started to happen once I had gone back to my home with my parents, and I remember feeling so disappointed because now my little child mind is comparing the word home, this other home, and then this home where, yeah, I had loving parents, I had a younger sister, I had bigger family, but this was the home that felt like I was trapped in this little body compared to this freedom that I had experienced. And so I became quite homesick. And it took me, well, by the time I was in my teens, this homesickness was a real problem. It really, it was quite hard always knowing that there was another place, space, there was a home that was not all this tough, insanely difficult part of what it means to be a human. This feeling of separateness, this feeling of judgment, this feeling of, and then the confusion about everyone saying they're right about, because obviously I was very interested, well, I say obviously, I became very interested in religious ideas and spiritual ideas, and was looking for answers to what I'd experienced, and kept coming across fear and rules and judgments, and I was like, that's not the home I experienced. That's not what I experienced. And being told that you just needed to have faith and just believe, but believe in things that weren't matching the home that I knew, that was more real than anything in this world. So that was a tricky, challenging way to start with its gifts. I always said death was my first teacher. Death was my first teacher. And it's a very, very beautiful, tough teacher. And I almost found that it was harder to be here than there. That was my first reference point. I had to learn to be here. Even though my NDE, my near-death experience, was not very spectacular and very Hollywood, it had a profound course steering effect. The homesickness of my teens, at 13 started high school, and at 13 had a dark night of the soul where I was crying myself to sleep very quietly as I could, because I really didn't want to ever burden my family with more pain. But I really just didn't want to be here anymore. And high school was particularly hard. Starting again as the youngest person in the school, the youngest grade, being looked at was always really triggering for me, because of, even though the tumor was gone, it felt like the ghost of the tumor was always there. The tumor had regrown at some point in my childhood, a couple of years after that surgery, and I'd had to have a second surgery over here. And the doctor had said, it was only by the age of 16 that I'd be free of it, that I'd know it wouldn't return. So there was all this fear about the tumor returning, and having to have my hair shaved and feeling different, and then this homesickness plus being quite intuitive and not being able to separate my feelings from other people's feelings. Also having the beginnings of an inner teacher though I didn't name it a teacher, just a voice from within that often would show up to guide me, to comfort me, that my quote unquote surface child mind tried to understand and label. So having these punctuated moments. So 13, crying myself to sleep, wanting to be home, but not wanting to put my family through trauma. And then this inner voice, this inner calmness, helping to stabilize the grief, was just choose a reason to live that's bigger than the pain. It was freedom, non-judgment. I could do what I wanted. But if I chose to stay, I had the idea, choose a reason to stay that's bigger than the pain of being alive. And I contemplated this, and there was only one thing I wanted, and the word that formed encapsulated everything that I was looking for: answers, truth, understanding, home, and the word was wisdom. So I said, I choose to stay for wisdom. So at the age of 13, I dedicated my life to wisdom, and that has been the North Star of my life. That has been the guiding focus, the mission, the quest, the purpose. It was not an easy path, but eventually wisdom took me back. Maybe back's the wrong word. Eventually wisdom helped me to find home again, slowly but steadily, learning that the body has its own hardware and software. So that thoughts that are rising from what I call the surface mind, or from our, let's say, more of our biology, are more functional, they're more language-based, and they're necessary, but there's a deeper way of seeing. There's a deeper, truer way of seeing that is also our being, that is our true eyes, that is our true I. And the more we, in a way, peel back those layers and discover our true eyes, the more we come home, And then it gets to be possible, not easy. Okay, I'm not pretending any of this is easy, right? But it becomes possible to almost download home into the body and into our lived experience of life, to teach our biology more than survival programming, to teach that which feels human to be the highest expression of human. But to do that, perhaps just the first thing to know is that it is possible. It might be why some of us are here. It is work, and it is worth it.